Na wachanganuzi wa kisiasa Munene Mutiri, karibu.
Nashukuru.
Ni Jumatatu, najua wewe si mtu wa Jumatatu lakini leo umeweza kurauka.
Nimerauka kabisa. Nashukuru.
Karibu. Edwin Airo. Mbona leo umekaa mpole, ni chai ama ni kahawa?
Kahawa.
Haujakunywa?
Bado.
Itaweza kuwasili kwa muda usio mrefu. Tukiangalia gazeti la Daily Nation, ukurasa wa kwanza, the front page says that the inside workings of Uhuru's new state. Says here, there are two people who are determined to slay the dragon of the sleaze. When they come for you, don't call me, President Uhuru Kenyatta says. We've seen how he has restructured the presidential delivery unit. It's now under Interior, Ministry of Interior. We see the provincial administration, the super ministry cabinet secretary of Interior also appointed the chairperson of powerful committee, and also terming Raila handshake last year. President Uhuru Kenyatta and Mr. Raila Odinga buried their political hatch. Edwin, you're smiling. Hata sijamaliza kusoma. Na hata inabidi nisimalize. Yeah, I won't start with you, obviously, because kwa sababu najua una mengi ya kusema. Munene Mutiri, how do you see the changes? Do you think it's a good move?
I think we shouldn't always celebrate the workings of a failed structure as it is, and I think it all falls to the past mistakes that Mr. Kenyatta as the president has done. I think since 2013 he really took a back step and almost let some other people run the government on his behalf, and I think it's unfortunate. Almost 3 years almost to his last term, he is realizing the mistakes he is doing. I think he is trying to find out something he will be able to salvage, as he says, for his legacy. But I think we shouldn't always, when someone makes has been making a mistakes for the last 7 years, when the last time they realized the unfortunate place they have put the country and try to rectify it, it's not time for celebration. I think we should realize mistakes were done, but at least he's trying to do something to salvage probably his legacy, but I doubt if it will be for the legacy of the ordinary citizens, or if the legacy will have an impact to the many young Kenyans suffering out there.
Edwin, the president's strategy was wage war on corruption and also weaken the old structures. Do you think he's doing a good job?
Yeah, from from the first value, he's a good job. But again, we must get down to the basics. Is the strategy working? I think what he has managed to put together successfully is stemming the political dissidents of Raila Odinga, and also putting Nordin Haji and DCI Kinot in office. But again, that is one way. The other way is, now how do we get to nab the people who engage in corruption? It's not just a matter of presenting to court and then the cases take too long. There has to be, a timeline within which at least this process has to be very judicious, in the sense that when one is presented to court, these cases have to be, listened, heard and determined. And then you want to look at, making structures, rearranging structures, allocations and reallocations. But again, the reality on the ground is very different right now, because look, if we were seriously fighting corruption right now, the NYS 1 should have been 60% complete. Right now, we are not even 50%. We are still way far. Again, the president has delayed in naming the 41 judges. That has weighed heavily on the administrative of justice in our court system. So if we get more judicial officers in positions, and we get these magistrates and judges so that they hear and determine these cases in good time, then we'll be making progress.
When you look at the Standard, it's all about Kibra. You're smiling. It says here, Ruto vows to teach Raila a lesson in Kibra. DPP also promises to deliver Kibra's seat, seen as Odinga's stronghold. To Jubilee throws more challenges in the path of BBI drive. Is it about the Kibra people? Is it about the BBI is it about who is stronger than the other, Munene Muturi?
I think that's a very complex question to answer about it, but I'll try to make it as simple as possible. I've tried to say on this show again, Kibra is the birthplace of ODM. And when it was the larger Langata area, the Oginga Odinga was the member of parliament there. His son took over. Mr. Raila Odinga has been the member of parliament for 17 years. That is where ODM was born. And I think Mr. Ruto is trying to test the waters. And I'll tell you for a fact, it will be very unfortunate if the ODM will lose that seat, either to Mudavadi or to Jubilee. When they lose it to Jubilee, it will give a lot of justification for Mr. Ruto to attack Mr. Raila. And I'll tell you, if ODM will lose the seat in Kibra, that will be the eventual death of ODM as we know it. If the ODM loses the seat to ANC, to David Owalo, that is Mudavadi, it will give a lot of weight in Mudavadi when it comes to Western and the larger Luo region. We have always had the political act of in this republic of paying the debt. The Luyas have always supported the Luo, in that case for Mr. Raila Odinga, and if Mr. Mudavadi wins for the Kibra seat, I think he will go up and call Kurudisha Mkono from the Luo community, and I think it will be a really big blow to ODM. Eventually, this will set the stage for BBI. If Odinga loses in Kibra, you will not have the political justification to go around the country asking the people to change the constitution. It will vindicate Mr. Ruto's words of some people are trying to change the rule of the constitution just for their own benefit. So I think all the cards for ODM are in Kibra. The political future of Mr. Odinga is in Kibra, and I think he will not take any chances. It will be a highly contested seat, but I think eventually ODM has the upper hand in it.
Edwin, do you think the Kibra election is a projection of what will happen come 2022?
Well, again, when you're taking bulls to fight, you also choose the best so that it delivers desired results. And you would realize that, first of all, ODM has an upper hand in Kibra. But again, we've seen in the by-elections, we saw David Ochieng take the Ugenya parliamentary seat in a very ODM zone. So things really are changing, and people are looking at how is this person capable of delivering? How is your blueprint? I mean, how practical is what you're promising us? You know, and right now, many Kenyans are moving away from, you know, party philosophization into individual scrutiny and say, if you someone to represent us, are you able and willing to handle this public mandate that you're putting on your shoulders? But again, in Kibra, this Imran, candidate of ODM, has been there with those people, and in my opinion, he has an upper hand because of his close relationship with the former late member of parliament, God rest his soul. And again, I would say, in terms of strength, I think Imran is a bit strong. He's a bit strong because he has a proper understanding of the area. And Jubilee picked Mariga, who has visibly he has no understanding of the area. In terms of delivering his blueprint, explaining it to the people is a bit hard for him. He's not as clear and concise as it should be. In fact, you would you would notice that many Jubilee politicians are campaigning for him instead of him taking the lead. So it's who is running? You know, that's the question, because he has really to take charge and prove to the people that here I come, and the blueprint I have for you guys is this. But you see, the people who are doing that, are the people who support him and not him. So it's about, again, the bull, the might of the bull. And that's going to carry the day at the end of it all.
When we take a look at the Star, the front page says here, Harambes to require license bill. It says here, proposed organizers will need vetting and approval. Donors must declare gifts, source of the cash to KRA. Is it a good move, Munene?
I think This will be able to curb maybe the stem of corruption that we've seen. We have the law, the constitution that already states, I think 6 months to a general elections, politicians are not allowed to partake in these harambees and that kind of a thing. And I think it goes to communities that have really used the issue of harambees and to support for the social welfare of themselves, but there are people who have taken the opportunists who have taken that opportunity for their own benefit or to be able to wield political power in it. When you go back in those villages, the one who makes the biggest contribution in those harambees eventually wields some political power in that. So I think the issue of, these are some of the austerity measures the KRA and Treasury are trying to come up to really try and get this money, because the money in this country is not in the banks, is not with the common people, it is under the beds of some people, probably in Runda and Kileleshwa. So I think these are the time that they're trying to bring it to the public coffers.
So it's a good move. If the bill is enacted, it's going to change the way we think, the way we do things. It's
a good move, so that the money will not. There's a move of that will try to curb money laundering. We have seen these things. The people who are moving in churches every Sunday, giving out millions of money in these harambees and donations and in cash. The money is not coming from the banks. The money is not in treasury, so we don't know where the money is coming from. The money is hidden in some beds of these people. So, and I think eventually we should be able to curb this issue of harambe. When the first president of this country, Kenyatta, came up, this was to mobilize the whole country so that we'll be able to build this country from where the white man had left it. But I think we have taken a lot of steps 50 years later on, and I think we should try and get this thing of harambes, because I think the good that it brings are really outweighed by the bads that it is bringing to the society.
Ulikuwa unaongea, Edwin ulikuwa anatingisha kichwa.
Edwin has political ambitions, and I think I attacked some of these political masters. I'll give him the opportunity to respond.
In the near future.
How do you kill a Kenyan spirit? You know, this harambe is not a spirit that has just emerged. It has been there for decades. It was incepted by our founding fathers. So how do you kill such a dream?
So if something is not right, should we continue? If something is right,
we have no problem with these donations. But look, what this Ndarago MP is saying is that if a kid gets stuck because of lack of school fees, you guys cannot come and contribute. What this MP is saying, that if a church project is stalling, you do not need to come and help the church build the infrastructure. What this MP is saying is that when you get yourself involved in a problem, you have to deal with it yourself. Because look at the procedures the bill is offering for clearance. That is just hectic. It is unthinkable. Because look at it. What is wrong with donations? If I have money and it is my money, why do you want to dictate what I do with my money?
And it says here, you should declare where you get the money from. So if your money is clean, I don't think it is that hard for you to accept.
You see, we see the witch hand in this bill. We see, because you see, the proponents of this bill are very selfish. The people who don't like giving are the ones who complain the most. Many of them even don't go to church. You see, they want to have leisure and enjoy themselves, but we have serious leaders in this country, leaders who are chosen by God, leaders who go to church, who go to mosques, who go to worship with the people. And when they go there, in fact, the word of God says it matters what you do with the monies you have. How impactful is it to people? But not just stacking money in your bank account and the figures look so good, yet somebody is going hungry, yet a project is stalling somewhere that could be helping people. So let the leaders who are engaging in harambes engage, because we know they are employed, they are paid by government. Government pays so well.
Yeah, we'll take a break and then we'll come back after the break, inshallah. Na mtazamaji, mada ni moto kama unavyoona studioni. Tupate pumziko fupi, tarejea baada ya muda usiokuwa mrefu, usiende mbali.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Chilea utapata mwana si wako. Kwa majina ni Muhammad Obura na hii ni Sabah Show.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Abu Najma with kids. We learn Quran. We learn Quran. We learn Quran. We learn Quran. We learn Hadith. We learn Hadith. We learn Hadith. We learn Hadith. We learn the duas. We learn the duas. We learn the duas. We learn the duas. We love a prophet. We love a prophet. We love a prophet. We love a prophet. Abu Najma with kids. Abu Najma with kids. We learn Quran. We learn Quran. We learn Quran. We learn Quran. We learn Hadith.
From the most interesting things is the alertness of the dying person at the time of his death. For he becomes perceptive to a degree which cannot be described, and worried to an extent that has no limits. And he yearns for his times of old, and wishes that he be left so that he can make up for what passed him by, and so that he can be truthful in his repentance, in accordance with the level of certainty he now has about death. And he, out of grief, almost kills his own soul before its actual death. And if a single atom's weight of these things were found at the time of health and well-being, everything that is intended by doing pious deeds would be achieved. So the intelligent one is he who pictures that hour and acts according to what it requires. And if he is not able to do that, then he visualizes it as much as he is able to, for it will prevent desire's hand and will arouse determination in him.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Chilea utapata mwana si wako. Kwa majina ni Muhammad Obura na hii ni Sabah Show.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Karibu katika awamu yetu ya pili ya uchambuzi wa magazeti. Nikiangalia Business Daily, the front page says here, KRA spies identify rich with the Kenya shilling 250 billion tax evaders. Says here, taxman tells MPs agencies has contacted with the wealthy. They suspect are not paying right taxes using records of cars and electricity. Naona KRA is now digging deeper and using their resources to identify those people who don't pay taxes. Mwisho wa siku kwa sababu we need to pay for the luxury of our MPs. We need to pay so many things. Our budget needs to be done. Munene, how do you feel about it?
I think it always, and the crackdown should not always come from the people who have evaded tax. They have elements in the structure of KRA that have aided them in avoiding this tax, because someone can't have been seated somewhere and just not paid the taxes amounting to over 250 billion. The corruption and the rot in KRA goes up to the head of KRA. There's a lot of money. I think even the head of states as this intelligent, and they know the people who evade from paying these taxes. They are their friends, and I think these are the people that the president himself has aided in them evading this tax when they were making these phone calls to him that currently he is saying he is not picking their calls. So I think it's unfortunate the road that is in this government, but the people who should have fought it and stood above for the interest of the country. For a long time I've aided it, but now they want to present themselves as the self-righteous people who are trying to fight or slay the dragon of corruption, but they themselves have been feeding and benefiting from the menace of corruption.
Edwin, over 100 investigators leading this investigation are also targeting companies, different companies who are not paying taxes.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate that these things have been happening and they have not been unearthed. And again, it's one thing to investigate and it's another to really bring the culprits to book and to justice. Because in this country, we've seen countless number of investigations, investigative agencies coming to harass people. They lock you up on Friday evening, and then you stay over the weekend, and then you brought to court on Monday, released on bail, and then for what happens from there is history, which we know very well. But again, it now must move from just arrests and locking up and presenting to court and then the case dying a natural death. It must now go through the full length of the judicial process so that we get to know if somebody is charged with tax evasion, that person is seen through hearing and determination of the cases, so that again we have reference point, we have precedents being set. Because in this country, you hardly can mention a case where somebody has been found to have evaded tax and the case heard expeditiously, and you know, because again, we've seen KRA coming up with so-and-so is not paying taxes, this company is not paying taxes. But again, what do they do with that information? Nothing. They go to case, they do show the investigations because of course, conflict of interest. Maybe there's backdoor activity, probably. And then the cases just die a natural death. And then the economy continues to ail and bleed. And when we plunge ourselves in a fiscal deficit that we start to dig holes to fill another. So it's really a bad situation as a country. And in terms of corruption, it's good for PR. PR is okay. But in terms of going down to the nitty-gritties now to the actual sense of fighting corruption, I think we're still a step away.
Taifa leo nasema Sodoma na Gomora mitaani kwamba uozo wa maadili katika jamii umefikia upeo, huku wakazi na wazazi wakisema kwamba inapotosha watoto. Munene Mutwiri.
Mambo Kiswahili changu. I think the road that we see, it doesn't ruin the minds of the children. I think the minds of the adults have already been ruined, that unfortunate being us. And I think that trickles down to the people who look up to us and expect us to set a role, to be role models to them. And I think probably since the 80s and the 90s, the boom of the internet and the westernization of the African culture and the African mind, I think has really brought a lot of rot and immoralization of our morals. It's unfortunate that we as Africans have forgotten our culture and what our grandfathers and our great-grandfathers stood for. And I think we have taken up westernization, taken it to be a part of us, and it really eroding us as a society. And eventually the ills in Western countries, there are a lot of good things, but at the same time, there are a lot of bad things. It doesn't mean everything that they practice out there. They just bring it to us, we take it up, and we just do what they are doing. I think it's very unfortunate, and I think there is the opportunity for religion to take up and really try to pressure the people in charge to try and bring some sanity in these kind of things. We've seen probably the church has already been infiltrated by we've seen the likes of Pastor Nganga or the likes of the bishops and pastors that are taking donations from corruption and they are sanitizing it. And this is the time I'll encourage the religion leaders to really take up the opportunity, try and save what is left of our society.
Thank you so much, Edwin. Tukiangalia ukurasa wa 8 wa Daily Nation says, say goodbye to old 1000 note. We're saying goodbye. As banks wamesema tayari, they won't extend the working hours. Itafungwa kama kawaida, if it's 4:30, if it's 5, watafunga. And we've seen so many politicians, people doing different things with the 1000 notes. Some kuna hata taarifa katika ukurasa wa pili wa Taifa Leo ikisema kwamba noti za 1000 za zamani zatolewa kwa wingi kama soda mjini Eldoret. And we've also seen people buying things like cars with cash money with 1000 notes. Uko nayo 1000 notes? Do you have the old 1000
no,
notes?
I've returned everything.
You don't want to keep it in a history book?
Nah. But again, you see, the essence of changing this thing was also to nab you know, the fake currencies that were in circulation of 1000 denomination. But again, you know, central bank has a record of how many 1000 notes were in circulation, the old ones. Against now the old notes returned, they have to be varied against, you know, the number that was in circulation, so that we are able to detect fraud. And if this was really the change of currency was really making economic sense. But again, we also must appreciate change. It has happened, and 30th is here today. And for those who are still having the notes, and then maybe they want to keep in the archives.
Maybe Munene has one.
Yeah, probably is keeping in the archives. We don't know. He might tell us. But again, it's a good move, so we support it. Let us do this change and see what happens.
Monene, we've seen the 1000 notes now circulating in the market, and the economy will, I think, after this, economy will benefit out of this, because people were keeping the 1000 notes inside their houses, but now it is circulating. Some buying wheat, some buying houses, some buying different things. So, swali la kwanza, do you have the old 1000 notes?
I really don't have the old 1000 note, and I'm not fortunate enough to have the new one also. Economy buy.
But again, you see,
let Munene talk first, and then I'll come back to you.
To respond to money circulation, I think we forget easily as Kenyans. A few months ago, we had the issue of we really didn't have the 50 shillings note. It was out of circulation, or it had been overused. When you look when you compare between the two currencies, between the 1000 and the 50 shillings notes, they are made the same day, the same time. You see which one has been really in circulation. This money is in go downs or along Mombasa Road, and people supporting, people making these 1000 donations. I think it's not good also, I think, for the economy, because this money is not being generated from economic work. People are just coming out with money and distributing this money, trying to get rid of it, because they acquired it through not very good means, and eventually it will go and hurt the people. People will be excited to have the money, but I'll tell you for a fact, the 1000 note is not valuable anymore. You cannot go to the supermarket and buy yourself anything tangible anymore.
You buy one thing or two things, and
yeah, you'll buy one thing or two things.
Change 1000
that's the end.
Don't have anything.
Yes, there goes. There is that notion. The moment you have it in loose, you don't have any money anymore. And I think it's the policies that we should ensure our lawmakers make, so that we will have economic empowerment right from the ground upwards, and not upwards to going downwards.
Tukiachana na hayo, tukiangalia ukurasa wa 10 wa Daily Nation says here, schools where learners gamble with their lives in bad condition. It says here that so many schools, public schools, are in very bad conditions, where we are risking the lives of children. The government has admitted through the PS of Education, Belio Kipsang, has admitted that the government had not done any inspection of structures of the school for so long. Has the government failed?
I would say partly. Because in the 21st century, how can we still talk of children learning under a tree? How could we talk about school structures erected loosely? How can we talk about schools delivering content that is below standard? Because there are always government allocations to the Ministry of Education. What the ministry is not doing enough is ensuring the infrastructure of schools is prioritized. Look at what the Jubilee promised when they were coming in power in 2013, that we are going to make sure that our school kids, class 1, are having laptops. That was a good PR exercise. But again, what is the reality on the ground? Schools do not have infrastructure to safekeep these gadgets. These kids are not coming from flashy homes where they are guaranteed of security. What if they walk around and somebody snatches it away from them? Again, look at it. The government again comes around and say, oh, now we'll not deliver laptops, but we'll build computer laboratories in schools. That is still far from being done. Because the government, to some extent, has been seen as not really getting it right in terms of priority. Because right now, this is a record and a legacy. President Kenyatta should have left office when no child is learning under a tree. When curriculum development, the content disseminated to students is up to par. When we have university graduates, colleges, and these higher learning institutions, when they leave campuses, they go to do something. Right now, no graduate, in fact, many of them are not guaranteed of anything once they graduate. Right now, the economy is messed up. What the Treasury does is to give cosmetic figures of a growing economy, but in actual sense, the economy is really struggling. Because look at it, even if you want to start a business, you'll have to pass so many hurdles. It should have been a safe haven, at least in this country. This is a lasting legacy. That if you leave campus, the youth agency is there to receive you and put you in the economy and put you in the life after college. But right now, once you clear, it doesn't matter you have a degree or a master's. You're taken back to your parents to sort you out. If, again, President wanted a solid legacy, leave alone this housing thing. It's very important as well. But again, talk about health. Make sure everybody is under the universal coverage. Not everybody can afford that 500 per month, but make it so affordable that it will encompass so many people. Make it admissible to different categories of people. The rural population, what can you do to them? The city, the urban areas population, what can you do for them? Tackle with health, tackle education. You're impacting lives directly. But again, conflict of interest really kills our projects.
Monene, before I come back to you, we'll take a short break, but I want to read something. Sinai Fire Survivor is yet to come to terms with tragedy 8 years on. I will come back to you after the break. Na mtazamaji, tupate pumziko fupi, tarejea baada ya muda usikuwa mrefu. Usiende pale.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Chilea utapata mwana si wako. Kwa majina ni Muhammad Obura na hii ni Sabah Show.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
The Messenger of Allah said, whoever says when the morning comes, رضيت بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا وبمحمد نبيا, meaning, I am pleased with Allah as the Lord, and with Islam as a religion, and with Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam as a prophet. Then I am the guarantor that I will take him by his hand until I put him into Jannah.
Wake up to exciting mornings every day. Active Jumatatu with Muhammad Obura. Tech Tuesday with Yusuf Farah. Wednesday, the special edition Business Chat with Ibtisam Jamal. All about your health on Healthy Thursdays with Mariam Mwacharo. Aisha Khan with thorny pertinent issues every Friday on the Round Table. Fresh discussions, direct probe in Sabah Show, only on Horizon TV.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Chilea utapata mwana si wako. Kwa majina ni Muhammad Obura na hii ni Sabah Show.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Karibu katika sehemu yetu ya tatu na ya mwisho uchambuzi wa magazeti under the Sabah Show. Kabla sijachukua pumziko, nilikuwa nimekuambia headline what's coming up. Sinai fire, it's been 8 years. The Sinai fires are still being affected with the physical injuries. They're still nursing depression. They're still waiting for 25 billion payout. Till now, 8 years down the line.
I'll make a quick comment on the issue of schools in this republic, and I think I'll teach my friend Edwin a little bit of history. When you go back to where we started from, the government taking up these schools, since time immemorial, the government of Kenya has never built any school. People, villages or communities were told to build these schools for themselves. Then the government would send teachers for them. That is what has been happening all along. Churches have built schools and then government took them over. They employed teachers there and they took over the management. The issue of the infrastructure of schools, the government of Kenya has really never done anything about the infrastructure of schools. Even a lot of schools till now, public schools don't have the public, they don't own the land they sit in because the land was donated to them by the community they are from. So the issue of infrastructure, I think that's why we should come up, because when it came to maintaining the infrastructure of the schools that the community had built, of the churches had built, the government had neglected that part. They only made sure that the schools had pupils and they had teachers in them. They didn't care about the issue of where they were studying from. Then coming back to the issue of the Sinai fire 8 years later, it's unfortunate that those people have not been paid yet, and I don't think they will get paid till now. I've made this scenario. In this republic, when there is the issue of compensation, it's always taken up like a bowl of rice. The cook will cook it, being the treasury will give the past person, instead of passing it along to the person who needs to have it, everyone will have a scoop of it, and before it reaches to the victim, they will only be remaining 2 grains of rice. And the other issue is these people were sitting on land that is government land, the pipeline land. There were illegal settlers there. That's the unfortunate truth. And I think this will go back to the kind of leaders we're putting in place. They will allow the citizenry to put up illegal structures in illegal land, and when tragedy occurs, they will run away. They'll not be there for them. So it's an urge to every citizen in this country. Whenever you're voting for your leaders, ensure they give you a policy that will ensure that in the long run it will be beneficial for you. Don't just take up the 1,000 note and give out your vote for yourself. It's about your future, the future of your children, and for this case it's unfortunate for the people in Sinai.
Tukiachana na hayo, tukiangazia masuala yaliyotokea jana usiku katika kaunti ya Mombasa, ni kwamba 4 dead after car slips into the ocean. It says here there were no divers or emergency teams on board to attempt to rescue. Instead, commuters who witnessed the car sliding into the water screamed in horror. Kenya Ferry Services wamesema kwamba there's a woman na watoto wake. There was no response, no rescue team at that point because it was dark. We have KPA. emergency services, we have Kenya Navy, we have divers all over, and we have Kenya Maritime Authority, Coast Guards. What is not happening? People actually saw everything,
Yes.
what happened, and there were no rescue teams.
Yes, I saw.
Or emergency.
Yeah, I saw that thing on video, and it was sickening. That thing was disturbing. That car did not sink at once. It was gradually sinking. And if we had emergency response team, that sinking could have been averted. Probably right now, maybe even if the victims could have died as they have died, but we could have seen their bodies retrieved as of now. But that car sank so slowly and there was no action. It seemed like there has never been any preparation for emergency. And that's a very serious thing. In fact, people should already have taken responsibility. KPA, the boss, should have resigned already.
Kenya Ferry Services.
Yes, the Kenya services.
KFS.
The boss should have resigned already. But in this culture, in this country, we don't take serious things seriously. When tragedies happen, that's when people want to give press statements. That's when people want to be seen to be reacting. You know, they're not taking precautionary measures. They know such a thing can happen, but they never put teams on standby just in case it happens. There is a mitigation plan. But come to think of it, again, why did it happen that way? You understand? There has to be a proper coordination before that the anchoring is released.
There's usually a metal kind of door which usually doesn't allow cars to pass, so what inainuka heavy. So is it Munene, is it negligence from
This
Kenya
has
Ferry?
been negligence when you remember, since I think the 91 ferry tragedy that we experienced then. Since the 90s, the government has come up with proposals of trying to sort out the issue of the ferry crossing. If you go to that place when you make a crossing, every time you do it, you really make a prayer. There is the risk of the ferry jamming up and floating up to sea. There is the issue of colliding with ships crossing there, and even the greater risk of it sinking. So there has been proposals of putting up electric cars to go over, carry people and vehicles. There is, I think, the government has got funding from Japan to build the overpass bridge in that area, and I think it's unfortunate because already the money has been inflated to trying to build that thing, and then these things have already been done in European countries, and even Uganda, I think, beat us to that. They built a bridge crossing over the Jinja area where the Nile and Lake Victoria pass from. And I think it's unfortunate for us in government. We don't have people who really put up the lives and the states ahead of self-interest. There is a lot of negligence. There is a lot of misdemeanor and a lot of miscaring from the people who are in charge of this. And I think it's up to the citizens to really take up these arms from the people who are given a charge to lead them and to take care of them, because the Constitution clearly states that power belongs to the people but is exercised through the elected leaders. And I think if those elected leaders are really not able to exercise these powers, it's up to us as citizens to take up what belongs to us and really try and actualize what we need, because we deserve better than this.
Tukiangalia ukurasa wa 7 wa Daily Nation, or The Standard, says a kidnapped boy rescued at border town. Couple had left the son with the Uganda house help, but minutes later they took the boy, the family car, and vanished. This is not the only story which usually we hear. Hata Mombasa, Mtwapa area, mwanamke mtoto wake aliweza kupotea, hajaweza kupatikana hadi sasa. This is just one news which has a good news that the boy has been found. Is our border porous, Munene Muturi?
Of course. We have one of the poorest borders. Let's say in African countries, one have very porous borders. Look, the issue of Somalia, the government was trying to build a border wall across it. I really don't know where that story went from. Maybe it's the responsibility of the media to try and take this challenge up. But the issue, it's good luck that the boy was found, but it's unfortunate that these children are being lost with their nannies. We've seen the issue of young children left with their nannies being sexually molested and physically abused in that aspect. And then, but I'll ask the issue, there is a very interesting aspect in this. The people who are being involved with this are Ugandan girls. I don't know why Kenyan families are more interested in taking these nannies from Ugandans and not fellow Kenyans. I think that will come to the issue of remuneration and how we treat domestic workers in that response. And I think we should come up with a real policy on how domestic workers and domestic work is really actualized and how it's taken care of and how it's done.
Edwin, page 8 of the Standard says here, MPs plot to hide funds used from public scrutiny. The bill proposes cash safe from where lawmakers will budget and spend at their pleasure. You want to be an MP, right? The lawmakers have proposed a bill that will make it more difficult for the Auditor General to detect theft and misuse of funds allocated to Parliament.
You see,
Yes.
you see, first of all, even this auditing doesn't help.
How?
Because you audit for what? There's no arrest, there's no prosecution, there is no determination of these mismanagement of public resources. And you see, like our members of parliament, you see, legislating is a very serious job in this country, and we just like to paint our MPs negatively when not all of them are bad, as many people
Let me
might
read
think.
let me read something for you. Muturi, also listen. The billions of shillings received by MPs for each financial year will be channeled to the fund in a single package where they will budget and spend at their pleasure.
This goes. There is a bill that was, and I think this issue was discussed here sometimes last week. We need to remunerate former members of parliament. We need to pay them when someone retires, when someone loses their seat. I think this will be able to curb this issue, because when a member of parliament loses their seat or they are not re-elected, they go back to the village and they don't do anything. Some of them even don't have houses, the government cars are returned and that. So eventually, because there is that prospect of one not returning to parliament again. In the last parliament, 69% of the members didn't come back. Most of them are languishing in the villages without anything. And if you know you will not be able to come back and you will not be able to earn a living, you will come up with this means of trying to acquire wealth or a source of livelihood the wrong way. So I think the moment we're able to take care of our leaders well, I think eventually it will trickle down to the citizenry. It's wrong what the members of parliament are doing, but at the same time we should put ourselves in our shoes and ask ourselves, why are they doing what they are doing? I think if they are able to be paid when they are not in parliament, they will concentrate their efforts in ensuring well livelihood of Kenyans and not just for themselves.
Do you agree with that? Edwin?
I agree with my colleague here, because again, if we have trusted the MPs to represent us, we have annexed our sovereignty to them, then why can't we trust them to make such decisions? Because again, as he said, we need to, because you cannot tell a waiter to serve a customer food when the waiter is on an empty stomach. They'll start to salivate. That's why these restaurants and hotels make sure that just before lunch hour, the waiters are well fed. They eat fast. Just before breakfast starts, they are well taken care of, so that they don't salivate for what they are serving. So we need to do remuneration, proper remuneration. Again, we must have some clawbacks that maybe we can introduce something like, if you do well, and we see, of course we put in measures and structures and calibrators, so that we see like, what have you done with the monies put under your charge in the name of NG, Constituency Development Fund. How many lives have you impacted? What have you done? And we can talk about salary increment. In fact, we need to pay our politicians well so that they do proper work. They don't salivate for what they're supposed to oversight.
But you see, proper well, Kenya is among the most MPs are most highly paid in the world, if I'm not wrong.
The problem is these are very intricate questions, and it goes back to us as a society. When one is elected a member of parliament, if you go back to your constituent, you are expected to go to Arambes, to make contributions for burial, to pay school fees for people, to buy food, to buy people food, or to support weddings, or to just give out people money. I don't know for what. When you see your member of parliament, you put your hand out, you're expecting money. Where are we expecting this money is coming from? If they are not stealing it, they will ensure that they increase their salaries so they will be able to do what they are not supposed to do.
So who's to blame? Is it the people?
We the people are to blame, because the work of the member of parliament is only to legislate and to oversight, to make laws and to keep the government in check. That's all their responsibility. They are not there to ensure you get wedded or someone gets buried well. That's not their responsibility. Yes, it's unfortunate, because in the olden days, when the colonial government is the one used to have money. So when we black people took up leadership, people expected the people in power are the ones with this money. People will just tell you, unajua where money inatengenezwa, so go get it and bring it to us. It's unfortunate, and I think we have a crop of young coming up citizens and also leaders who will try and sort out this issue. The work of the member of parliament is oversight and legislation, not to give out money or not to pay out school fees.
And change the narrative.
Yes.
Shukran sana Munene Muturi and Edwin Airo for your comments. Have been very important in informing Kenyans. Shukran sana. Na mtazamaji, tumefika tamati ya uchambuzi wa magazeti, lakini tutaingia active Jumatatu ambapo tutaweza kuangazia masuala ya vijana, na pia leo ni World Deaf Day. What has changed? What are the deaf given priorities? Ungana nami baada muda usio mrefu.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Chilea utapata mwana si wako. Kwa majina ni Muhammad Dobura na hii ni Sabah Show.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
The Messenger of Allah said, whoever says when the morning comes, رضيت بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا وبمحمد نبيا, meaning I am pleased with Allah as the Lord and with Islam as a religion, and with Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam as a prophet. Then I am the guarantor that I will take him by his hand until I put him into Jannah. Assalamu alaikum, this is Muhammad from Muslim Mastery, and today I'm going to be sharing with you 7 tips to discipline your inner self. Tip 1. Seek refuge from shaitan. As soon as you get a negative thought about someone, realize that shaitan is playing with your mind. Don't let him win, and instead ask Allah to protect you from him. Tip 2. Focus on the facts. When something happens that you don't understand or like, identify the facts that a fly on the wall would have seen. By taking a cold, hard look at the facts, you'll see that the situation is a lot less dramatic than you originally thought. Tip 3. Analyze your interpretation. How are you interpreting the facts? This is usually what is triggering your negative emotions. Accept that you've added this interpretation yourself and that you can choose to have an empowering interpretation instead. Tip 4. Don't make people into villains. As difficult as it may feel, let go of the idea that someone else in your situation is the enemy who is out to get you. Stop making others wrong and yourself right. Tip 5. Avoid playing the victim. By choosing to put yourself into the role of the innocent victim, you're avoiding taking responsibility for your situation. Instead, be proactive and look at what you can do to make the situation better. Tip 6. Make excuses for others. The Sunnah encourages us to think good of others and make excuses for them whenever possible. In fact, Umar radiallahu anhu said, "Do not think badly of a word uttered by your brother when you can find a good interpretation for it." Tip 7. Take responsibility for yourself. Allah has given you free will, so no matter how difficult any situation may feel, it's entirely up to you how you choose to react. Remember that the test of life is not what happens to you, but whether you deal with it in a way that is pleasing to Allah. May Allah give me and you the tawfiq to implement these tips. Jazakallah khair for watching.
Akawa Abdul Muttalib ampenda sana Mtume sallam hata kushinda watoto wake. Na Abdul Muttalib, Mtume Muhammad sallam alikuwa ni mjukuu wake. Abu Talib na babake Mtume sallam dimba ndugu, tumbo moja, mama moja, baba moja. Baada ya miaka miwili Abdul Muttalib kufa, alipofika miaka 10 wakaamua kufunga safari kwenda Sham, kwenda kufanya biashara. Faqala rahib, huyu mtoto akifika akionekana dola ya Rum watamuua. Akaamua kurudi kuweza kuishi katika mji wa Makka kwa mara nyingine.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la la la.
Dear viewers, in case of any feedback, advice or complaints regarding our programming, contact Horizon TV on 0798 974747 or our live call-in number 0711 707 7